Second.
Okay.
All right, we're good. We're live. Hey, everybody. Just a quick introduction to Professor Phil Sabin. Um, let's see. What world-renowned? I guess we'll give you that title. World-renowned historian and war gamer extraordinaire. I don't know. You can introduce yourself, Phil. Just kind of give a top-level
Okay, very
introduction.
quickly. I'm Emeritus Professor in Strategic Studies from King's College London. I spent especially the latter part of my career focusing on the use of simulation to help people understand historical conflicts, and also as a fascinating challenge in itself to create those simulations at postgraduate level. And now I'm enjoying my early retirement down here in Chile to play the games and design the games for myself,
Here you
like the
go.
one that we're about to play today.
Okay, very good. And I wanted to ask you, did you want me to join as red or gold? I kind of, I am.
You can join as red. I've actually joined as observer.
Okay.
Um,
All right, that's fine.
okay,
We'll
just in
switch.
case, but
We'll
it
switch
doesn't
between.
matter.
Yeah.
There's no hidden information or anything. It's just to make sure that it all works
Right.
well.
Very good.
So
Okay,
you
so
join as red. You'll be the Macedonians.
okay, there you go. And I will not hopefully do Alexander justice, but yeah, we'll see.
Right.
uh,
Okay. So
okay.
uh, I've flipped over. You manage what you're showing on your video. Although clearly, I think it'd be best if you showed the vassal screen that you're seeing.
Yeah, that's. Hold
Um,
on a second.
you
Let me
should
share
be
that.
in the ISIS room now,
Yeah.
and you should see the map that I put together last night
Here we go.
with the terrain in place and the armies, the Persians at the top, the Greeks at the bottom. You
Yeah, you should
confirm
be able to.
that?
Yeah, you should be able to see my. I'm sharing my screen now. So
Uh, right. Okay.
it yeah
I'm
it
going to.
might.
I was going to work off Vassal itself. It's on the
Yeah, that's fine.
server.
Yeah, that's
So as
fine.
long as it's showing up right on
Yep.
your screen, you
Hmm.
can move around your view. You can share your screen on your video and move around your view to show what you want the audience to see. Okay,
Yeah,
because
I
we can
have it.
independently move our screens to wherever we like.
I
Um,
have it showing
I-
the whole thing. So
I'll just focus on making sure that the game works. Um,
I think
okay,
it's
so yep,
alt left click in order to bring my view to you too. I think like just in case you
fine.
need to point something out, use alt click. There you go. But
Okay,
go ahead. Go ahead,
okay.
Phil.
All right. Yep. Yeah. I saw your clicks up near your baseline. Fine. So the battle we're going to refight today is the Battle of Issus. This was Alexander's second major battle in the Persian Empire. It was his first encounter directly with the Persian king, Darius, the King of Kings. And it was fought just on the border between modern day Turkey and Syria at the corner of the northeast corner of the Mediterranean. Um, and Darius had actually got behind the Macedonians as they marched down the Syrian coast. And he had cut them off from their supplies. He captured a number of their wounded and had them killed. Um, and he then occupied the river defensive position. You can see the river Penaris here between the sea and the mountains in order to consolidate his strategic success. Unfortunately, Alexander, unfazed historically, marched back up, launched a blistering assault, though not by no means just a headlong attack all across the line. It was more tactically astute than that. But he was able, despite the huge Persian advantage in numbers and the advantage they got from defending the river, he was able to rout the Persians. Darius panicked, and the Persian Empire couldn't fight another big battle with him for another couple of years, during which time he occupied Egypt and half of the rest of the Persian Empire. Anyway, that's the context. We're going to be playing it using my Legion 2 rules. In 1997, I published a game called Legion with the Society of Ancients. In 2015, it was republished in the beautiful full-color version that you see here. The graphics are by Justin Swanton, and he produced the graphics for the board game version, which is still available for just £15, the hard copy from the Society of Ancients, and that is required to play the game. But as I say, it's easily available in hard copy from the Society of Ancients in Britain. Excuse me. Recently, in the last couple of years, I produced an add-on which I call Legion 2. And the main point of that add-on is to simplify the rules. The original rules were pretty standard complexity for modern board games, but too big, too complex for my current tastes. So I slimmed them down enormously while retaining the essence of it, and that's available as a free add-on. So it's free download, and there's lots of games. My own YouTube video showing the Battle of Croesus being fought with miniature figures, so plenty of support out there. The only thing that people will need to play it is to have a copy of the hard copy of the original Legion from the Society of Ancients. You're going to be commanding the Persians. I'll go through what the forces are in a moment. You're going to be commanding the Macedonians. I'm going to command the Persians. This is what I usually do with people less familiar with the system. I will give them the army that is most likely to win on the field. And clearly Alexander is more likely to win here. The game includes provision for bidding for sides in order to handicap play and so on. We'll use a much simpler system here, which is that you'll command the Macedonians, but if you don't manage to panic and rout my army before the day ends, I will win. If you do manage to do so, however much losses you take in the process, you will win. Okay. In the system as a whole, the battlefield center hex, which is outlined in white, determines tactical victory. But in this case, of course, it's outside my defensive perimeter. So I do not need to go and keep occupying that in order to win. I just need to survive with my army. It keeps the victory conditions for this purpose simple and gives you a very good chance, actually, of winning on the field at least. Okay. Any questions so far, Peter?
No, I am just looking at the unit counters, and I don't know if we want to. I don't know if we
Right.
want to just give a quick
I will now
yeah.
go through the unit counters,
Yep.
and we'll start with the Macedonians. Actually, let's start with your forces.
Okay.
So if you go to the bottom left of the screen, you'll see that you have Alexander himself near the turn and commands track at the top there. He's got 16 red dots. He's a leader. He's with the leading unit. He's attached permanently to the leading unit of companion cavalry, and he gives a tremendous command bonus, which I'll explain when I've gone through the armies, to his forces. He's got his own personal guard, the Royal Arla of Companions, and then there's another 2 units of veteran heavy cavalry. So HC heavy cavalry, in brackets V veteran, and
that's the movement
number 4 is the movement allowance, 4 hexes. Okay. Then below that, we've got a unit of average light cavalry, movement 5. We've got 3 units of veteran medium cavalry, whose movement again is 5. That's the Thessalian cavalry. And then we have 1 unit of average medium cavalry, and you can just about see that the points have actually been obscured a little by the slight stacking of the forces. But each of these counters, as you can see from the medium cavalry, it has a dot there, which shows it's worth 1 point. Okay, if I move that down, you'll see that the medium cavalry, or the veterans, have 2 points. Okay. So that's the information you have on the counter. You can see the type of unit, the class of unit, veteran, average, or levy, the movement allowance for reference, and the points value for reference. And of course, you've got the graphics of the troops, and that is in proportion to the actual number of troops that are represented by that unit. Now, in this scenario, each heavy infantry unit represents about 2,500 men. And you'll see that the heavy infantry have 8 figures. So that works out that each figure represents around 300 men. So each figure you see represents around 300 real troops. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Just below the cavalry there, you can see another general. That's Parmenio, Alexander's grizzled deputy from Philip's day, his father's day. And he's an average general, so he's only worth 4 points. But the other big difference is he's a commander. And that means he's not attached to a unit. He can move around between different units. Essentially, he fights much more from behind the lines as a battlefield manager, whereas Alexander, although he's able to manage the battlefield pretty well, given his brilliance, he is up front in the lead. He can. The good part of that is that he can try and cancel hits on his troops. But if he gets unlucky, very unlucky actually, he may die, as nearly happened in the previous Battle of the Granicus, which of course is an utter catastrophe. Okay, Parmenio is usually much safer, but has less ability to keep his troops firm because he's not encouraging them by fighting in the front. Okay, going across to the infantry, there you have at the top 2 light infantry units. The first one is veteran. Those are the Cretans and Agrianians, the best of Alexander's skirmishers, movement allowance of 3. And then you have the average other light infantry worth just 1 point, movement allowance again of 3. Then you've got the Hypaspis, 1 unit of veteran heavy infantry, who were armed with normal size spears, as far as we can see from this period. And they're Alexander's guard infantry, and they're worth 4 points and have a movement allowance of 2. Then you've got 4 average units of heavy infantry phalangites, and my heavy infantry and medium infantry can be of different subtypes, and the average heavy infantry of the Macedonians count as phalangites. They're armed with pikes. There are some special rules for the advantages and disadvantages of that weaponage we'll come to as we play the game. Essentially, they're best in open terrain away from obstructions like the hills and the river, and maybe disrupted if they are going into more broken terrain. But they're pretty formidable forces, especially against the Persians in this battle. Then you've got 4 units of medium infantry. Those are assorted mercenaries, Thracians, allies, and so on, who fought in a looser formation. They're all average, same as the phalanx. Their movement allowance is 3, which is one of their main advantages compared to the heavy infantry. But when they come up against heavy infantry, at least if the heavy infantry are fresh, they tend to lose out because they are not as well organized for hard frontal combat. They, as in contrast to the phalanx, are pretty good in broken terrain. Okay, and the light infantry are especially good in broken terrain like the hills. Right, that's the Macedonian army in a nutshell. Any questions?
Am I remembering it correctly that the phalanx units can form a double? Am I remembering that right?
Yes, it's well remembered. And so can hoplites. I've got some mercenary Greek hoplites, but not in this battle. Okay. And the reason is as follows: double units forming deep ranks. Particularly applies in smaller battles, because in smaller battles, not only the frontage of the units, but also their depth is less. So there's more point in putting
Mm-hmm.
two units together, in basically brigading two units together. Yeah.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, the cutoff for that, if I remember rightly, is that each unit represents 1,500 troops or less. Now, in this battle, each heavy infantry unit represents 2,500.
All right. So it's
So
basically.
it's already assumed that the heavy infantry are in reasonably deep formations. They
Yeah.
don't get any extra percentage
Mm-hmm.
for doubling up, so they're not allowed to in this battle. In
Mm-hmm.
smaller battles, yes.
Very good.
Okay,
So in a small, yeah, in a smaller scale battle. Yep, makes sense. Very good.
fine, right. Now let's go to the Persian army, and then we'll go to look at commands, and we are pretty much ready to play. Now I go first, so you'll be able to see how deployment and movement work from what I do in order to help you do the same. So if we scroll up to the top of the map now, in the top left, looking at all the Persian cavalry. So the Persians are here in much greater numbers than the Macedonians. Indeed, the problem they have is that their army is so unwieldy, especially in the confined space between the sea and the mountains. The next battle, 2 years later at Arbela, Gaugamela, they chose an open plain precisely in order to be able to make the most of their great numbers. But here they will find that difficult. Anyway, they have got lots of cavalry to start off with. Let's look at the first column there. At the head of that column, the bottom facing me, is Darius, King of Kings. He should actually be in a chariot, but that doesn't fit very nicely on the small counter there. He's an average general. He's worth 4 points. And like Alexander, he's a leader, and he is with the front unit of medium cavalry. That's actually a bit of a weakness in this case, because the medium cavalry, average medium cavalry, only have 1 point. That means that they will rout after a single hit. So if he gets a hit, that unit will rout, and he will be carried away with it. So if he gets anywhere near combat, he may well be knocked off the field, which of course is what happened in reality when Alexander came to attack him. Anyway, that's Darius. There's 10 units in total of medium cavalry, average medium cavalry, worth 1 point each. Then in the next column, at the bottom, as we look at it, there are 2 units of heavy cavalry. Those are more armored cavalry that the Persians had, particularly from the eastern satrapies. And like the Macedonians, they are a little better in hand-to-hand combat against mediums. Same thing as we have with heavy infantry against medium infantry, exactly the same with heavy cavalry against medium cavalry. But they pay a price. Their movement allowance is 4 rather than 5. Then we have 2 units of light cavalry, and they have 4 figures rather than 2, because they are levies. Now, cavalry in general, average and average cavalry are only worth 1 point. Levies, if they were in single units, would only be worth half a point, which I don't have. So I actually institutionalize in this case what we were talking about earlier as an option with the heavy infantry, namely that represents twice as many troops as the average, only lesser quality. And so it works out pretty much the same. In effect, they've got the same fighting ability as 2 units, as a single unit of average cavalry, but they have twice as many troops to offset their poorer quality man for man. Okay, light cavalry, movement allowance of 5, like the mediums. The main advantage that light troops get is that they have no facing. Other troops all have facing and cost them to turn. Light troops have no facing and can move in any direction. And that gives them obviously much greater flexibility. And then finally, we have 5 units of medium cavalry. And the only difference between them and the ones we've already seen on the other column is that, like the light cavalry there, they're levies. So they have twice as many figures per unit. So actually, they've got as many troops as the 10 units of average medium cavalry. It's just that they're lower quality, and therefore I represent that by making them just 5 units, even though they equal in numbers the average medium cavalry in the other column. Anyway, lots and lots and lots of horsemen, even more than the 6,000 or so that Alexander is able to field. Then we go over to the top right of the map, and here we see all the Persian infantry. Now, the best of the Persian infantry on the bottom of the right-hand column are, and you see these troops in blue, are the heavy infantry hoplites. So they just have H for hoplites. They're heavy infantry. Their particular subtype is hoplites. They are the Greek mercenaries who were the main component of Darius's infantry in this battle, in terms of quality, certainly. And they have their average troops. They're worth 2 points. They have a movement allowance of 2, and they have the greatest chance of holding up against the onslaught of the Macedonian infantry, the Macedonian phalanx. The phalanx will get an advantage against them if it encounters them in the open, because of the longer spears of the pikemen. So the hoplites probably don't want to encounter the phalanx in the open. So it's lucky they've got the river to defend. Then behind them, at the top of both columns, we have 12 units of average medium infantry. These are Persian troops. They were called the Cardaces, and they seem to have been pretty much equivalent to the medium infantry of the Macedonians, fighting in reasonably close formation, but nothing like as good head-to-head, at least, against heavy infantry as the hoplites will be, for example. But again, they have the benefit that they have a movement allowance of 3, which gives them added flexibility. And then at the bottom of the left-hand column, 6 units of double levy light infantry. Light infantry, of course, average light infantry are worth only 1 point. So in order to be worth 1 point when they're levies, I double them up so that they've got actually as many troops as the medium and heavy infantry. But they're still only worth 6 points as opposed to 24 points for the Cardaces. And let's see now. Yes, again. Where are we? Sorry, 1 second. Mm-hmm. All right. Yes, fine. And I'll need to quickly. I thought I was doing something strange. Yes. When I put these together last night, I've just noticed that I made the Cardaces average. They're not, of course, average. They're much lower quality than the hoplites, and therefore, what I should have done is put out, and I'll get rid of them all and replace them as we speak. I should have put out levy units, which are worth just 12 points. So let me select them all, delete them all, and I'm now going to go up to pieces. I'm going to go into the gold units. This is at the top right of the screen, by the way. If you're following this, this just shows what I was doing last night to set the forces up. We need gold medium infantry levy, which is them. I'm going to put them on the field for now, just very quickly. It's useful because it shows you how easy it is to set up a scenario from scratch. The same thing with the terrain. So what I need is 12 units of these. I'll just get them out.
We should save game once you get all these in here too.
At least I caught it now.
Yeah.
Fine. There we are. Yeah. I now select them all, turn them about. Saves doing it for each one, and now I'll just put them over here, and there we go. Right. Anyway. So the Persians have 6 points worth of light infantry, double levy light infantry, 12 points worth of double levy of levy medium infantry.
Yeah,
They're not
yeah,
doubled.
yeah.
They've got the same number of troops as the as
The
average units
hoplites and
have,
so forth.
but they're just worth 1 point rather than 2. Okay,
Hmm.
which
Hmm.
means, as I said earlier, they're very fragile. It only takes a single hit to rout them.
Is that a chance? Is that a chance to route, or do they
Any
automatically hit?
unit worth 2 or 4 points, and I'll show this with the leading hoplite unit. Uh, if it takes a single hit, it becomes spent, and
Hmm.
you can see that is shown in this representation by a buff-colored border.
Hmm.
The unit essentially fights just the same, but next time it takes a hit, it will be routed. But
Hmm.
it means it has 2 lives rather than 1. Okay,
Hmm.
so fine. Okay, so that runs us through the two armies. Any questions about the Persian army?
Nope. Nope.
Fine.
Oh, the one question
On
I
the
had.
far
Oh,
left of the screen, we have the combination turn track and command track. Turn track, very straightforward. There are two sundial markers at the bottom showing that we're about to start turn 1. The Persians go first in every turn. And you have 20 turns. You have 20 turns to win. The track is also used for commands. Now, commands are absolutely key in this system to replicating the advantages which the Macedonians had over the huge numbers of Persians. Namely, that you need to use commands to activate your units. And when you run out of commands, your units can't move or attack. So even if I had twice as many forces as I actually do, but the same number of commands,
mm-hmm.
I wouldn't be able to do much more with my forces because I don't have the command ability to make use of my army. And that will be a problem for my army because I have so many more units, but I actually have fewer commands. Let me tell you how the commands are worked out. You get the lower of one of two totals. Okay. One of those totals is very simple. It's the number of points of units that you have, not leaders, not
Mm-hmm.
generals, units.
Mm-hmm.
Now it works out in this scenario. You have you as the Macedonians have 37 points of units.
Mm-hmm.
So you're going to have 37 commands. Okay. And once you see, I've put the Macedonian command marker on 17 on its plus 20 side. So
Mm-hmm.
you have 37 commands. And as you lose units, if you lose a 2-point unit, have it routed, you'll fall to 35 commands and so on. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
But as I said, it's the lower of two totals. And the one that hits me is that the other possible total is half the number of points of your units, half the number of commands as you have points of units, plus the full number of points of your generals that haven't run away or been killed. And that's what limits my own commands. I've actually got more points of units, quite a lot more points of units than you have, even though they're of low quality. I've got so many of them. It adds up to 49 points. But I've only got 4 points of generals. So my commands are half of 49, rounded down to 24,
Mm-hmm.
plus the number of commands points of my generals. And I've only got one general who's worth 4. So I've got 24 plus 4. I, as you can see here, have got 28. You will only suffer from that if, God forbid, you lose Alexander. Possibly Parmenio, but particularly Alexander, because you have 20 points of generals. So even if you were only taking half your points of your units, which would give you 18 plus your 20 points of generals would give you 38. You see, which is why
Mm-hmm.
the thing limiting you is your units. As long as you don't lose one of your generals, particularly Alexander, the thing limiting your commands is the number of units you've got, not the number of generals.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Right. I think
How
we're ready to start.
how do you
And I can
one
explain some
question?
things as I deploy my forces, unless you have any further questions.
Yeah, one question I have is how do you mark temporary use of the command points? Do you keep I mean, I think on the table you would use like a dice marker or some sort of counter marker
Yep.
to like
Okay.
how do you do that in
We
battle?
simply move down
Um,
the command markers. Okay.
mhm,
So we just to record that. Now, in practice, especially in the early turns, we often don't need to, because we'll work out we have a certain number of commands, and it may be, certainly it will be in your case, more than enough to do everything you want to do until we get into combat, and therefore it doesn't even matter. Or we can simply count it verbally as we go through and keep track, rather than having to keep flipping across to move the command markers down. But
mhm.
when it becomes more complicated, it's a simple matter of moving the command markers down the track until they reach 0.
Okay. Let me grab
Okay?
a I think it'd probably
But
be
as you'll
easier
see,
just
that's not necessary at first.
yeah. Yeah, I think I'm just gonna keep them like a piece of paper near me or something
Yep.
to mark that. Probably easier. All right.
Okay. Right.
Okay.
So, excuse me.
I feel like
The
I feel like we'll get through deployment and maybe one or two turns at most because I have to end at the top of the hour. Just kind of
Oh, I agree.
a
Yes, yes.
yeah.
These games, especially when you're explaining the rules and so on, do
Yeah,
take
absolutely.
a while. But we'll speed up later as we get into the play of it. But of course,
Okay.
if we weren't explaining it, people wouldn't know what the hell was going on. So
Yeah, very good.
it's important
Exactly.
to strike a balance there. Right. So we'll begin. I have my 28 commands now. On turn 1, um, each unit that deploys costs 2. So the upshot of that is that from my 28 commands, I can only move on 14 of my units. And that will
Mm-hmm.
use all of my commands, even if I have space to move on more. Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Both of us need to get all our forces on within the first 4 turns. Otherwise, they rout and the army is halfway to defeat. So a challenge for me is actually to get all my forces on within my limited commands before that 4-turn limit. So I'll be maximizing the rate at which my forces come on in order to try to overcome that limitation. Anyway, the other points to note: board edge hexes with any terrain, like the sea or the edge of the hills or the end of the river, are impassable to everyone. Board edge hexes with clear terrain are passable only to cavalry, to horsemen. It stops infantry artificially anchoring their flank on the board edge. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
So the board edges are either impassable in the case of any kind of terrain, or they are passable only to horsemen. Okay? So in order to make the best of that, I'm going to start. Usually, you start moving on your fastest units so that you don't block others, and you can't interpenetrate here. You have to pass through vacant hexes. So every unit starts in the deployment hex shown. It can start in. Let me just take off all the moved markers for now, which automatically occur, and then we'll be able to see which ones have moved. So I'm going to start that unit there. I'm going to start it free of charge in, I always get this wrong, which way it's going. That's the wrong way. Okay, fine. I'm going to start it in that facing
Mm-hmm.
in my deployment hex. And now I'm going to use its 5 points of movement. And I'm
Okay.
going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's one command. And remember, I can move on 14 units. I'm going to move on some more. Start it like that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And another one. There. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and it would have been turned, of course, to get there. It costs 1 point for everybody except light cavalry to turn, or light infantry. Okay, I'm going to bring on my heavy cavalry, I think. I've got 2 units of those, and I will start one of them at least facing like that. 1, 2, 3, 4. Movement allowance of 4. And I'll do the same with the other one. Turn clockwise. There we go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Okay, so I've moved on 5 of my 14 units. I haven't yet entered the unit with Darius, so that we'll put that unit is the one he's with. Now, I want to get some forces over to try and occupy this hill, because this, historically particularly, this was a crucial position, and the Macedonians' taking of the hill was a crucial precursor to their cross-river attack. So I'm going to move some of my light infantry. Remember, I have no facing at all. Start off there, 1, 2, 3. I might just send some other cavalry across there as well. Probably some more of my massive medium cavalry. They're not very good on the hill, but anyway, turn counterclockwise this time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. And I'll put another unit over there as well, of my medium cavalry. Right, turn. No, it's the other way. Counterclockwise. There we go. Fine. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Fine. Okay. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I only got 6 more units that I can bring on. 6 more units that I can bring on. I'm going to bring on some more light infantry. And I do want to get my forces as far as possible over that river and onto the hill, which will take a while because of the delays which we'll come to when we get there. 9. I can bring on 5 more units. Let me just think.
So even,
Right.
I
Yep.
apologize for interrupting you, but so even though we have, you obviously are going to take 2 to 3, probably 3 turns to get everybody on, if not the 4.
Oh yeah, I'll take 4, pretty sure.
So I mean, the strategy here obviously is to get a good amount of your faster units on, but you are also kind of mixing, you are diversifying that as well a little bit. Is there an advantage?
That's right.
To doing
Yes,
that?
because I'm moving my fast units first, so they don't block the slower units.
Right. Sure.
But I also need to get particularly my slow units into position before you can bounce the river and get some units over the river. You see. So I'm now actually.
This is a very unique. Not many war games miniatures do this, honestly, right? They usually, a scenario is set up. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like,
so
absolutely. This is very unique. I really like this a lot. So.
I'm not sure it's unique, but some people, funnily enough, see historical refights which don't start with the historical deployments as somehow illegitimate. They're not a refight. Well, which is nonsense, of course, because any war game starts with the forces at a chosen position and then lets the players choose what to do. It's just that in this game, I start with you having the freedom to where to deploy them, rather than being forced to adopt the deployments and usually the plans of the historical generals. Right, in Lost Battles, in my broader brush system, my Lost Battles book, I provide the option. And most people do play it with the historical deployments. But those historical deployments all fit within my rules, which I include within Lost Battles for deployment. And you can play Lost Battles just as well as with this, using free deployment. It's just that in lost battles you have the choice, whereas here I prefer to require players to make their own deployments. It also means that the scenarios can be far shorter and simpler, just about 5 lines each in terms of data. And as I say, you don't get the same repetitiveness as you sometimes get with refights, which are all based on the historical deployments. Anyway,
So
it's what people prefer.
Yeah.
I am now going to move on. You can use my last. Just thinking. Hang on.
Yeah, you were thinking about what other additional ones you were
right.
bring on.
I'm going to move I'm going to move 1 unit of medium infantry. 1, 2, 3. And then that leaves me 4 units, and then I'm going to move my hoplites. Okay, sorry, I'll put that there. There. And of course, they start there and they come out 1, 2. Yeah. And a final unit of hoplites I will deploy, but that can't reach that position. That will need to, it could either just go behind there or it could go out 2 hexes. Let me just think which is the best. Let me see. No, I'm not going to bring them out as it happens. I'm going to bring out another of my medium infantry units, and they will start turned wrong way again, and they will come 1, 2, 3. They can never enter the board edge hexes. There we go. Right, fine. So I've got half my hoplites moving to make sure that they guard the river, with some medium infantry as well. I've got some light infantry and light cavalry who are going over as rapidly as they can, which isn't very rapidly, as you'll see, to occupy the hill. And I've got lots of cavalry going off to the beach and the sea coast to guard that furthest flung part of the river. And I'm not yet bringing on Darius. That is my initial move. Okay, Peter?
I'm here. Sorry, I had my mute button on. All right, so I think let's see. Let me think about this. Just to kind of get things going. Okay, so I have 30. Let me see if I get this right, and then you
right now you have
37 total, right?
37 points.
Right.
Like me, on the first turn, it costs you 2 for each unit that's deployed.
Right. So I can deploy.
So
18,
in effect, you can bring on half of 36, which is 18 units. You probably don't have many more than that. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19. Okay. If they fit, you can bring on all but 1 of your units.
So I think I'm going to go ahead and
and of course, you need to think what your plan is.
Right. I mean, I'm going to, and again, please just, correct me if I'm absolutely moronic, but I'm going to bring on the companions and just kind of get them out of the way through the middle. They really kind of want to get,
right.
To the river as quickly as possible, pretty much. So we'll
right.
keep it simple.
Let me just, because it affects especially the balance between your heavy and medium cavalry, or heavy and medium and light cavalry.
Please,
the rules for crossing the river are: it costs you 2 movement points to enter it, and it costs you 2 movement points to leave it. Okay.
Okay. So that's
right.
Again, we're not going to get all the way to it yet.
So what that means is, if you have a companion cavalry unit next to the river, and I'm nowhere near, the companions can actually enter the river and leave it in their movement. Okay. Medium cavalry or light cavalry with a movement allowance of 5 could start 1 hex away from the river, move into the river 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 to get to the other bank. Yeah.
Right. So the
none of your infantry can cross the river in a single turn, because their movement allowance is 2 or 3, and therefore they don't have enough to pay the 4 needed, even if they're on the opposite on the bank to start with. Yeah.
One question I have is
Yeah.
Can Alexander attach himself to a unit and then move to a
Uh,
different unit?
no, Alexander is permanently with one of the heavy cavalry units.
Okay, all right.
And if
So
that unit gets routed, he's gone, like Darius.
all right,
Now,
so I'll
it's got
do
2 lives, it's got 2 points, but you still need to be careful. So he is
yes. Okay.
permanently with that unit. It's Parmenio who can deploy to anyone and move around and so on.
Well,
Okay,
I'll put him on the fourth one that I move on. All right. So
fine.
all right. So I brought this on. I'm not going to make a the turn you had said during deployment the turn was free, right? But I'm not going to. So I'm going to go 1, 2, 3, 4, move them up.
That's fine.
I'm
Yep.
going to bring
Okay,
I'm just going to try to bring up some more. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4.
that's fine.
Again, correct me if if I make a mistake here at all. 2, 3, 4. Bring these up here, and then I'm going
Okay.
to bring
Now,
in.
Alexander is with one of those.
Yep,
So
he's going to
put
be like
Alexander
this.
on with one of those now.
All right, that's fine. One,
That's
two,
fine.
three,
Okay.
four. 2, 3, 4. Okay. All right, so that's
Now
it.
they
Just
can
kind of
move
bring.
another hex if you want. Their movement allowance is 5.
Oh, you're right. That one is
And
right.
they can move in any direction. They've got no facing.
Oh yeah. Hold on a second. That's a light cav. Um. Yeah, I might bring him over here real quick. Okay. All right. So then these guys are medium calves, but they have facing, so they are
Yep.
kind of yeah. So then let's do this, and I might turn them counterclockwise first, and then I'm gonna get them 1, 2. Is that a 5 or a 3? Is that a 5? Yeah, that is a 5. One,
5.
two, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna go like this.
That's
Um,
fine.
okay, let's go counterclockwise. Let's go 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I'm gonna somewhat do this historically, right? The cavalry kind of went over here to kind of block your cavalry. All right, so
Okay.
counterclockwise. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 5. I will do this for now. Um, so you're saying I can do all of these. I'm gonna keep one in reserve, sort of. 1, 2, like this, just in case I
That's
want
your
to.
average unit, of course, which
Okay,
is
yeah,
fine.
yeah. Let me get one.
Now, if you want, it's moved to there, but it's only used 4 of its points. If you wanted, you could use the 5th one to turn it forward,
Yeah,
if you
there we
wish.
go. That's like that. Yep, yep. That's very good.
Okay.
More flexibility for the next turn.
Mm-hmm.
Right. Now this commander can come in. He's probably gonna come in with the heavy infantry.
Leave them until the end, and then
Yeah.
you place him
Attach.
in the deployment hex and move him 5
Yeah.
hexes to any unit.
Okay. So now these guys can only go 3. These are the okay. So I'm gonna actually clockwise them. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna get these
Doesn't matter
guys
which
out.
way you face them
Okay. Ah, you're right.
because they're light infantry. It's fine.
Yeah.
You can put them anywhere that looks good, but just remember they don't actually
Doesn't.
have any facing.
Okay. 1, 2, 3. I'm gonna get these guys over towards this. I'm trying to get these guys kind of here, or at
Yep,
least.
understood.
All right. Now these guys. Okay. So my intention then for the phalanx is to come
Right.
up as quickly as
That's your
possible.
1 unit of guard hypaspist heavy infantry, 4 points worth.
Okay, and these guys can
Very
only go
strong unit.
2. Yeah, very strong, but they take a while to get on board. So let's get these guys up 2. Let's get these guys up 2. And these guys have a facing, so 1, 2. Okay, and keep coming up. 1, 2. These guys, I just got to get them on board more than anything, right? That's the other.
Yeah,
That's the
they
other
would
thing.
need to start turn to get there. They would need
Okay,
to start turn so they're
there
facing.
you go.
That's it. Yep.
All right, so then I will do similarly here and get them up here. Okay, so
Okay.
now, so here you were telling me about this. We're running out of room. You know what I'm saying? So
Yep.
that's interesting. That's very interesting. So now,
You see what you could have done
yeah,
is
it's fine.
move
I'm
the
learning.
medium infantry first so that they didn't
Yeah,
block weren't blocked by the
if
heavy
you don't
infantry.
mind me retroing that, I might.
No, that's
You might.
fine. That's
Yeah,
fine.
I'm going
So
1, 2.
imagine that you moved these earlier.
Yeah,
That's fine.
yeah,
Okay,
exactly.
right. But it
Yeah,
does
and then I'll probably
show
bring
that the
these.
movement order is important.
Oh, wait, one of these stays, right?
And one of them has to stay because you should now have 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, which is the maximum of your commands. But you see that you were much less inhibited than I was.
Here,
Now
my
he can
question.
go with any unit, and I'll just tell you
Yes.
the rules for that.
Yeah.
He is going to give benefits, attack bonuses particularly, as long as he starts with the unit at the start of your player turn. So he can move about,
Oh,
he can
he's the one that can
transfer,
move about.
and if that
Interesting.
unit is routed, he'll automatically transfer as long as you've got somebody
Okay,
adjacent for him to
well,
go to.
for now,
But
for now,
on any turn he transfers, he doesn't give
right.
his combat bonuses. But he must be with a unit. You can't leave him just out in the open.
But he can transfer to any unit on the field. Is that correct?
He can transfer 5 hexes to any unit on the field,
Uh,
or he simply moves accompanying the unit he's with.
okay.
And if he accompanies a unit, then he can give it combat bonuses.
Okay, let me think about this for a second. Then I probably wanted to. I probably want to give my.
Okay?
Yeah, let's. I'm just wondering if I should keep him with the cavalry to kind of protect this flank. Yeah, that's my only. Sorry, I'm thinking through my decision points. Okay, let's do that for now. For now,
Fine.
I'll learn.
Right. Let's just let me just save that
Yep,
just in
please do.
case.
Yep, just in case. Yep. So we'll try to get through this next.
We'll try to
This
get through
next
the next
movement.
turn. We still won't have any combat.
Yeah, that's fine. This is great,
Uh,
by the way. I love this game. This is great.
Good. This is turn 1. I'll save that on my desktop. There we
It
go.
has a
Fine.
distinct
Right.
feel to it,
Yep.
and that's a good thing. That's a good quality for a game, right? Like if I'm playing this game, I know, hey, I'm playing Legion. You know, there needs to be a distinct flavor, and it definitely has
Yep.
that.
Okay, so I've got 28 commands again, but this time it only costs me 1 command per unit to activate the unit for movement or deployment. So I can move what I've got on the board and bring on others. Yeah. So I'll start out on the side over here with the hill, and I'm going to try and get my medium cavalry over the river. Their movement allowance is 5. Now, I'm going to move 1 unit to there. That costs 2. Leaving the river costs 2. Entering a hill hex costs 2, but it doesn't cost more cumulatively, you see. So it still only costs 2. It costs the highest cost of all. So that goes to there. And that's cost it 4. It has 1 left.
Okay, so
Now,
for some, oh, yep, okay, there you go.
it costs cavalry 2 to enter a hill hex, unless they only have 1 movement point left, in which case
they're allowed.
it only costs them 1.
Mm-hmm.
They do only have 1 movement point left, so I'm going to move them up the hill to there. And remember, all of these hexes along the board edge are out of bounds to any unit, even the cavalry. So it's only some of the hill is actually playable, even with the cavalry. Right. Same thing with the next one. 1, 2 into the river, 3, 4 onto the hill, 5 for the last hex of movement if you only have 1 point left with cavalry. And I'll count as we go up, see how many units, how many commands I've used, because I've only got 28, remember. Now, my infantry, light infantry, these guys are a bit in an annoying position at the back because they can move 1, 2, but they can't use their last command to move in, last movement point to move into the river, because that would cost 3, 4. They've only got 3, so they end there. In order to try to get these guys on the other bank as quickly as I can, they will move to cross the river closer. 1, 2, 3. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
Right, that's 4 units moved. I now need to get units down here because I need to worry that your cavalry are getting closer to the river. So I'm going to move my medium cavalry 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, right? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and then they'll turn counterclockwise. Yes, I got it right. Okay, good. And you'll note, by the way, that none of your units are yet in a position to get across the river this turn. Your light cavalry, a movement allowance of 5, 1, 2, 3, 4 into the river. It will be 5, 6 to get onto my bank. So I'm safe, thank God for now. So I don't actually need to go to the river bank in order to make sure you don't get a bridgehead this turn. Right, these heavy cavalry, movement allowance of 4. 1, 2, 3, 4. No, they'll go there and then they'll turn, I think. That way. 1, 2, 3, and they will turn. That way. That's right. Fine. Okay. So 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. I've moved 9 units so far. Moved 9 units so far. They will go 1, 2, 3 to help defend the river there. So will they. 1, 2, 3. Okay. And I will move my heavy infantry. I'll move the hoplites down here. 1, 2, 1, 2. Right. That unit hasn't moved. And I'm just wondering. I'm not going to move it yet. This river is not in danger yet, so I'm not going to move it yet. That means I've used 13 commands rather than the 14 units I had on the board. That leaves me 15 to bring out more units. Let me start to do so. Okay. Let me get some more light infantry out to start with, I think. 1, 2. Whoops. Oh, God. Hang on.
I moved the turn track. Sorry.
No, that's fine. 1, 2, 3. Yeah. Some medium infantry. 1, 2, 3. So I'll count the number of units I've moved as we go on. I've got 15 that I can bring on this turn. I've brought on 2 so far. Okay, now some more mediums going this way. 1, 2, 3. That's 3. Damn it. Okay, 3. Cavalry. More cavalry. We get some light cavalry out. 4. 5. I'm counting the number of units I'm bringing on this turn. I can bring on another 10. Another 10. Okay, more medium cavalry, masses of troops. The problems comes when I have to start fighting with them, because that costs 2 commands each. So I'm making the most of the fact we're not yet engaged. Clockwise, yeah. 6. 7. 8. They can end in a clear hex on the board edge. 8. Okay. I've got another 7 I can bring on. Quickly thinking. I need some more medium infantry. I'll get them up to the riverbank. There we go. 9. 10. Move 2 and turn. 10. Right. Um, 11. Bum. 12 hoplites. 13. 14. And another unit of mediums. Move 2 and turn forward. 15. Right. That is my deployment quickly on turn 2. Sorry, I should have moved the turn marker. Oh, you've moved the turn markers. That's
Yeah,
fine.
that's what I
Okay.
did before. Yeah,
Right.
that's what interrupted you before. All right,
No,
so
that's fine. That's fine.
let me
Okay.
let me let me try to state what I have, right? All right, so
Yep.
again, my base command points is 37,
Yep.
which again very similar to last time. Okay, so each movement from here on is only one command point. Is that correct?
Only one to move. Yes. Which means we don't even
I
need to think
to
about
right,
counting
right, right, right,
because
right,
you've only
right.
got 19 units. So
All right, so
you can only spend 19
I'm
commands.
basically going to move everybody, and then I'll bring on the last one. All right, so
Exactly.
let's
Exactly.
go through
Now,
this.
none of your units are yet in a position to attack me. Um, if this unit, for example, let's say your light cavalry was 1 hex further forward, it could, in theory, I'm not saying it's a good idea, but it could, in
Hmm.
theory, move
Attack.
1, 2, 3 into the river,
Yeah.
4, 5, and then
Hmm.
attack that. And that would cost it 1 for the move and 2 commands for the attack. But it's just too
Right.
far away, so you can't do that. So all you
S-
need to think about is moving.
All right, but I
You've
need
got
to
ample
see.
commands for
Yeah,
now.
ample commands, but this is the only light cav, right? That's the only light cav, and I need him. I need him somewhat free to harass, really, more than anything, right? There's so many troops over here. Yay that he gets over there and attacks. It's like at that point
Mhm.
he'd be absolutely engulfed. Is there anything for light cav? Is there anything as far as like an auto withdrawal or anything to that degree? Do
No,
you know what I mean?
that's all counted as in the command system. It's harder
Mm-hmm.
for me to hit light cavalry,
Mm-hmm.
um,
Okay.
but if
Okay.
I hit
That.
them, they do rout,
Right. Right. Right.
and it doesn't necessarily mean I've managed to catch them and kill them. It may
Right. Right.
mean
Right.
that they've
Right. It
just
just
run
means that
out of
they
their
run
missiles
off.
and they've gone away.
Right. I'm
But
trying
the
to think of
effect
where.
is that they've gone. But it's much easier for me to hit medium cavalry than it is for me to hit light cavalry. So you
Is
can
there?
use them as same with light infantry.
Okay.
It's
So
no
then a
easier to
couple.
hit them
Well.
than it is to hit medium infantry.
So I don't want to
Uh,
get.
uh,
I don't want to get.
because the processes by which they fight missiles rather than melee weapons are abstracted within the overall combat system. Okay.
So these are all veterans here. Let me. I think I'm gonna just go. I think I want. I want him. I want some flexibility here. I'm going to do this. I'm going
Yeah.
to do
And
this.
the combat effect of the river is that units attacking into a river get a bonus. In other words, people in the river are more vulnerable than if they weren't.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So I
Yep.
definitely don't want to end. You don't want to end there. You don't want to end there if somebody's within striking
You don't
distance.
want to end there unless you're making a concerted attempt to cross,
Yeah, I don't.
which of
Okay,
course
so
you will
here's.
need to do in order to win.
Yes, but do I necessarily need to do it with my lesser size cavalry
No, no,
compared?
no, absolutely.
Yeah,
I'm just
yeah,
saying
yeah.
you can't avoid it forever.
Right, right. Yes.
Alexander will not win by defending the river Pinaris against the
Yeah.
Persians.
Are you sure? No, just kidding. You know what? This is our what if. What if Alexander did the exact opposite? All right.
Yeah.
And then you said turning was 1 point, or
Except for light cavalry for whom it's free and light infantry.
okay, okay. So I did one turn there. So I did 1, 2, 3. Yeah, I'm okay there. So then if I just do 1, 2, 3, 4, and then I can do that, right? And then 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, like that. Does that expose him? Does that expose his flank? Does this maneuver expose his flank too much?
Um, You don't need to worry too much about flanks in this, because although the units are pointed in a particular direction, it doesn't necessarily mean that the troops are facing that way for combat.
Okay. All right.
It's what you need to worry about is, can I get a unit round the flank and attack from the flank as well as I attack from the front? Yeah, to gang up on you. Which way you're facing doesn't matter that much in that regard. Facing is much more about which direction the unit's been ordered to move and attack itself. Unlike in other games, leaving a unit where it can be attacked from the flank isn't as dangerous. Okay?
Yep.
Because, as I say, this is a higher level game. Remember, each figure that you see is 300 men. So it's not the more tactical situation where people can actually be caught in the flank. Without turning to face. They have the time to do that as a defensive measure.
Oh, wait. No. Hold on a second. Let me redo that one.
It costs infantry no more to enter hills than normal terrain. So just 1 point per hex. It's only cavalry who cost extra to enter hills. Not that you can get there this turn, but just for reference.
Right. Okay. Now these guys were pointed weird. They were. Let me fix this. They were pointed here. They only have 2 movement points, so they can only like turn and go 1, right?
That's right.
All right.
Yep.
Let's just do that then. That's the. Oh Lord. Okay, and then these guys come on, and then they go 1, 2. I'll bring them up here. 2, 3.
Okay.
I did that right. I think we're done for this. And
right.
I think we'll probably
fine.
end there for now.
Yep. That's everybody moved. What I forgot to do at the start of the turn is take off all the move markers, but they're very useful. The black lines there.
Yes. So
I'll take them all off now before we save. So that means that when we're in hot and heavy action, you can see which units at least have been moved.
I just moved the track.
But we need to remember to take off the move markers at the end of each turn. I will save that, and we're done for today. Just a moment.
Yep.
Save game as. This is turn 2. Fine. Save.
This is the moment of trepidation and fear, right? Just like the combat. You're like, oh God, do I do Alexander justice? I don't know. Yeah, far from it, right? But we'll see.
Okay.
All right.
Yep.
Very
good. Fine.
I like this.
So
we'll continue. We'll continue tomorrow.
I can manage same time tomorrow. Is that all right with you?
That's fine. That's perfectly
fine.
Yep.
Okay.
Yep.
And we get straight into it because we've exchanged. We've covered the basics and so on.
Yep.
Okay. Good.
I'll reread the rules, and I'll be pretty much caught up. Cool.
That's fine.
Very good.
You take care. See you tomorrow. Bye bye.